Morning. Slightly unusual video this. We've just received a delivery of seeds for a big reseeding job we're doing the week before Christmas. And what I want to do is see how these very large seeds, as well as some small ones, will actually go through the augers here on the P100 Pro. So what I'm about to do is change the augers, mix up the seed mix and put them through. I'll explain while I'm going what I'm doing. So let's see how things go. So I'll take you through what we're going to be doing here. The first thing is we're going to change over to the XL augers on the P100 Pro, and hopefully these will give us the space that we need for some of these larger seeds. Bear in mind that the rated size for pellets through the augers here is between 1 and 6 millimeters, so we're going to be pushing that by a factor of probably 10. What we also have here are some pelletized birch seeds. We have a bag here of hazelnuts, which are very big and very hard nuts. So these really will be a challenge for the drone, for the augers. And then we have here from the oak tree, we have acorns, and these again, large, hard seeds. We'll have to see how the drone copes with these. Before we go much further, let's just have a quick look at what we've got here. The birch pellets. Now, birch seed is normally like dust, and what you can see here is these are now have been coated in clay and some nutrients. So the size of these is approximately 2 millimeters in diameter. These will go through the augers with absolutely no problem at all. And what I've noticed is as soon as these contact water, they look like they're melting, and the yellow material forms a nutrient to feed the seedling. So I expect these to grow very nicely. And here's a quick look at what happens to these birch seeds when some water is applied. A little too much water. Let's just give that a minute and see how those go. 2 minutes later, we have the floating birch seeds on top, and you can see how small those are. They're about a millimeter, and you can see that the yellow clay and nutrients have come straight away. And of course, this will provide the ideal growing medium to get these germinated and away really nice and quickly. So that's very interesting. And these acorns from the oak tree, similar to the hazelnuts, to be honest, 25 mil in length. That's a fairly chubby boy. So what, 20 mil in diameter. So again, not quite as hard as the hazelnuts, but those are going to represent a challenge if they get caught in the augers. Now, these hazelnuts are a completely different kettle of fish. We have some very big, very hard seeds, and these are 25 mil in size. That's a very small one. This seems typical. So maybe 25 to 30 mil in length, and width we're looking at 18 to 20 mil. So these are going to be a challenge, and they are rock hard. Right, so let's try the acorns into the augers. If you just tip them in now, Julia. Lovely, and these are just straight acorns, no mixing medium, anything like that. And we'll try those through the augers now. Okay, right, let's just quickly try these acorns through the augers. I'm not putting the spreaders on just yet. Let's try those, here we go. Beautiful, that's exactly what we're looking for. If you'd pop those in there, Julia, and listen to these, they sound... They're spread out. I'm ready to run the augers, but these things are rock hard, and honestly, it feels like we're using stones. Right, this is the one I'm nervous about, because these hazelnuts are rock hard. Here we go, fingers crossed for the augers. They fed through fine. I heard some of them getting chopped. I could hear some cracking in there, but to be honest, there's one. It seems to be just one or two have got caught in the augers. So to be honest, I'm happy with that, very happy, as long as my augers have survived. So what we'll do now is we're going to practice what we're going to do on the actual job, which is dilute the nuts with wood chippings and sawdust, effectively just to dilute them as you would do your chemicals with water. So if you could put in half the hazelnuts, we'll use the hazelnuts as the acid test because they're the ones that are rock hard. A little more, lovely, thank you. And what we'll do now is we'll just mix this up. This is going to be much drier than the previous mix, so I'm just wondering whether that will be better or worse, but this simulates what we're going to do in reality, so fingers crossed. This is the hardest of all the tests. So this is going to be a full test of what we're actually doing in the field. So rather than discharging remaining granules, I'm going to go for a manual spreading test. And we have the mixed hazelnuts with the sawdust in there. I'm going to turn this on. I'm just going to step away as this will get messy. And fingers crossed. Here we go.
It didn't like that.
Turn off. It did not like that. Well, that was a partial success. They spread as you saw, but then this left auger has become, let me just disconnect that, has become blocked. And yeah, that is pretty much impossible to rotate. So the question is, you can see there, I actually think, yes, this is the sawdust that has blocked it. So the good news is we can spread the seeds. The bad news is it doesn't like the sawdust, so what we're going to have to do is use a different diluting medium. Okay, well, I've just separated these, so yeah, okay. We can see here this is entirely packed, I mean this is rammed hard with sawdust. We can see the nuts in there. That one's been cut, and actually that's not a good sign. That's a piece of auger there. So let's clear these out and see what the damage is. Okay, so we can see that the problem was I believe it's the sawdust. We know these nuts will go through even if a few get broken, but the sawdust is binding, and this isn't sawdust, these are wood chippings, and I think basically they're just binding together, which is causing the problem. So let's try an alternative. Right, so the next test for a spreading medium is going to be some peat-free compost. Let's see. My concern with this is that it's damp and that it also might compact. I actually do want to aerate this a little bit, because what I don't want it doing is sticking in a big mass. So let's see what that's like. Turn on and let's see. Okay, turn off. I'm going to turn that back on again. I want to know, is it the augers that are blocking, or is it just the feed? So that is actually going through the augers okay. It's just clogging in the hopper a little bit. So I'm having to keep that feeding through. I can see the augers turning. I'm trying not to get my fingers in there. So, what have we learned? The good news is the hard, big hazelnuts, the acorns, they go through the augers fine. Casualty of maybe 1 or 2%, I'm going to live with that quite happily, particularly when we're aiming at a rather low germination rate. So the spreading medium seems to be the issue. This compost has gone through okay. It stuck a little bit in the hopper, but that I think is because we weren't flying. In flight you get much more vibration, and that will cause it to feed through. So I think this could be a usable medium, perhaps with a bit of sand just to help it go through, dry sand, or if it was a little drier, that would no doubt help. Although we will also want to try some fine sawdust. So I'll check those out over the next week or two. Both augers have suffered. Here are chips off the left and right one. In reality, this damage is minor, but it is important. I don't think it's a result of cracking on the nuts. I think it is the fact that they're both from the end auger here, and I think the pressure is building up, forcing these augers into the feeding mechanism themselves. So I think it's the drone that is damaging these, not the seeds. So again, I'll change those over and we will try with a new medium. So a partial success, we'll get there. Thanks for watching. Actually, there is one more thing that we have learned, is these augers and the motors are very, very tough and produce a hell of a lot of torque. So they're both running fine, although they did block and had a lot of power going through them. But what I think I would also say is keep your fingers out of the auger. If these can chop hazelnuts up without thinking about it, they'll take your fingers off without thinking about it too. So hands out of the hopper, guys. Cheers.